welcome back to Live School. And in today's first video content, I'm going to start with the aircraft anatomy and some basic flight dynamics. So this is the first video of the series, and make sure that you have gone through the course content and you have downloaded the prerequisites. As far as now, we are not really need the prerequisites here, but it is good that if you gone through the reference books as we move from the content. So let's get straight to the point, and let's start first with the anatomy of the aircraft. So here what I have with me is an simple RC aircraft. So this is uh, there are more than 1,000 parts in an actual aircraft, but as we are dealing with the RC aircrafts, we actually need some basic fundamental parts that we are going to actually use in the aircraft. So let's have a look at them. Now, the most important part of an aircraft is its wing, because wings are the devices which will generate the lift and make the aircraft fly. So let's talk about the wing. Now, the wing is the one which is responsible for the lift, and on the wing you can see this is the green part, that is these are known as the ailerons, which are near to the tip of the aircraft, and the flaps which are you are able to see are near to the root of the aircraft wing. So what are these things are for? So basically ailerons are the devices, control devices are used for the roll stability. Now what I mean by roll stability is the motion of the aircraft about an axis passing through its fuselage. So this is the roll axis. Now the motion about this axis is controlled by the ailerons. So ailerons are basically designed for these purposes. Now if you see, what are the flaps for? So flaps are also known as lift generating devices. Lift generating devices. So how they generate the lift? Actually, it is a mechanism known as the camber morphing. So basically, they change the camber of the airfoil and generate more coefficient of lift, and that's how they're gonna generate more lift. We'll see about them in detail when we'll talk about the airfoil design. So in that thing we'll check what is camber and how flaps change the camber, etc., and how they generate more lifts. For now sec, you can remember as flaps are lift generating devices. They can provide more lift to your aircraft. Now on the contrary, uh, of lift generating, they also produce more drag, but we won't talk about the lift and drag terms right now. So let's stick to the more generating lift generating devices for flaps. After these things, I would like you to concentrate on the front part of the aircraft. The front part has its engine. So this is the engine of an aircraft. Now this engine could be replaced by an electric motor, uh, maybe two electric motors or two engines. So it can be a different powering source. So basically this is the powering source of an aircraft. Now what I mean by powering source is uh, the thing that will rotate this propeller in order to have airflow over the wings. So this is the device which gonna generate the airflow over the whole plane. Now the engine may be powered by batteries if there is electric motor, or it will be powered by fuel if it is engine. In RC aeroplanes, basically LiPo batteries or Leon batteries are used for this purpose if the electric motor is used. In case of engines, we use methyl alcohol as a fuel. So this is about engines. Now next to that, what we have over here is these wheels. Actually in general term we call them wheels, but in the aircraft industry these are known as landing gears. When while landing or while taking off, these are the parts which are most important. Now the nose gear is the one which carries the lesser load, about 20 to 30% load of the aircraft, while the main gear is the one which carries about 60 to 70% load of the aircraft. Now this is about landing gears, and you can see most of the RC aeroplanes may have or may not have landing gears because because of their less weight, so they can be used to throw with hands as well, or you can use wheels in order to uh, uh, use a takeoff runway. Now let's head back to the rear part of the aircraft, that is nothing but the tail portion. Now I wanted to concentrate on the tail portion, as I have divided it into two parts, that is horizontal stabilizer and a vertical stabilizer. Now the vertical stabilizer is the one which is having a rudder. Now the rudder is going to have a control over motion about the yaw axis. So this is the yaw axis. So the rudder is going to have control over the yaw axis. Now I'll make sure that I explain you how rudder, elevators, and ailerons can affect the motion of the aircraft in the dynamic stability. For now, sake, I'm just naming the part and explaining its use. Now, next to that, we have an horizontal stabilizer. A horizontal stabilizer is adapted with a elevator. Now the elevators control the motion about the pitching axis. Now the pitching axis of the aircraft is known as this axis. So this is the pitching axis of the aircraft. Guys, might my drawing because I am drawing with the mouse that I have. So I hope it is clear to you, but I'm not that well at drawing over the picture, but kindly bear with me. So the elevator controls the motion about pitch axis. Okay, so these are some important parts of the aircraft, and they play an important role during the maneuvering of the aircraft as well as the total flight of the aircraft. Now, after this anatomy, I would like you to proceed with some basic terminologies that we are going to using throughout the lecture. So before that, let's have a look at them. So there are around uh, 8 terminologies that we are going to use very oftenly. So I would like you to explain them to you. Now the first terminology that we are going to use is the angle of attack. Now to explain the terminologies, I am not going to explain you with definitions, written definitions, but I'm more interested in you to understand their meaning. So to make sure that you understand their meaning, what I have with me is a total new technique to explain you the thing. So I have here an aircraft with me. Now let us imagine that airflow direction is this. The air is flowing over the aircraft in this direction. Now the axis of the aircraft, the angle made by the axis of the aircraft and the airflow is called the angle of attack. Now let's suppose I change the angle of attack. So now it is at a certain angle with the airflow. This angle is nothing but we call it as angle of attack. Now if you see, I have exaggerated the figure, but this angle generally varies from maximum 1 to 12 degrees. So angle of attack range that I'm talking about, in actual flight it's not more than 6 to 7 degrees in actual flight, but for the range we talk about 12 degrees maximum. After that we do not consider it as angle of attack. Why? We will surely look after. Now this is known as the angle of attack, but this is a very preliminary definition of angle of attack. But I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So when we'll talk about the aerofoils, we'll see the actual particular definition of angle of attack. But for the sake of simplicity, right now I am explaining you this much only. Now let's talk about the stall velocity, or also known as the stall speed. Now the stall speed is basically the minimum speed. It is the minimum speed required for aircraft to fly. That is the minimum speed required for aircraft to fly. So if aircraft is moving below that speed, it won't fly. That is for sure. And maybe at that speed as well, it won't fly. We need to have a speed which is greater than that, because at that speed, the lift of the aircraft, that is the upward force, will be equal to the weight of the aircraft. So that thing is required for aircraft to just sustain and have no resultant force in the upward y direction. But in order to make it fly or go up, we need to fly with a velocity greater than stall velocity at least. And there are many cases in this that we need to look for the angle of attack as well, we need to look for the coefficient of lift as well. But the preliminary definitions say that the stall speed is the minimum amount of speed that an aircraft should have in order to fly. Now now we are heading to the next term, that is the stall angle. Now what is exactly a stall angle is that I'll explain you with the help of a graph. So this is a graph of lift versus the angle of attack of an aircraft. Now, so this is the graph of lift versus angle of attack. Now I would like my plane to come over here in order to explain you that. And let's just wipe out what we have over here is, and then we talk. So when my plane is flying at a certain angle of attack, let's say I have elevated it till by 1 degree. This is my 1 degree. Now due to elevation with 1 degree, the lift of the aircraft increases. Let's assume this. The lift of the aircraft increases. But you can see the exposure of area of the aircraft to the frontal wind, that the wind coming from front is increased. So as soon as the angle of attack is increasing, you can say the exposure of aircraft to the wind is increasing, which leads it to increase the drag force over the aircraft. So you can see this, when I'm varying the angle, you can see that the drag force is increasing. And simultaneously, after a certain point, what's going to happen is the lift is not going to increase, rather it starts tipping down. So if I want to plot the graph of lift versus angle of attack, then as the angle of attack is going to increase, lift going to increase first, and after that, as angle of attack is going to increase, the lift going to decrease. So this is how the graph gonna be. I'll draw with another pen if you want me to draw. So uh, as the angle of attack is going to increase, the first lift will increase. After the angle of attack decreases, the lift going to be decreased. So this is how the procedure gonna be. and this angle of attack, that is at what angle, uh, this angle is known as the stall angle. So this is the stall angle. At what angle, when the aircraft speed reaches to stall speed, the aircraft speed reaches to stall speed, and after that the lift of the aircraft is dominated by the drag, that angle is known as the stall angle. So I think you have got the definition, right? So after that, let's move on to the next terminology, that is the takeoff run. Now, to understand takeoff run, I need some things over here. So as the name suggests, takeoff run can be explained with this thing. So let's suppose we have a ground over here. This is our ground, and on that ground I am having my plane. I'm having my plane. Now the plane is right on the ground, that is on the runway. Let's suppose this ground is our runway, and the plane is on the ground right now. So when the plane will start moving in this direction, let's suppose the plane is now moving in this direction. The wind flow is in opposite direction. I'll make sure you that. Now what happens is I change the angle of attack slightly, and the lift started increasing and aircraft started to rise. So at this point, at this point, till this point, from this point, the aircraft was at was on the ground, and from the point where the aircraft loses its contact from the ground is known as the, this distance is known as the takeoff run. So this distance is known as the takeoff run. Now again, the next term is is the most important term. The next term is the takeoff velocity. Now the takeoff velocity is a very important concept. If you need to understand it clearly. So let's get our plane on the runway again with the angle of attack 0, and it is on the ground. So now the plane is on the ground, and again it start moving in this direction. So the plane start moving in this direction. Now as soon as the plane have traveled some distance and acquired some velocity, we change its angle of attack. We change its angle of attack to 2 to 3 degrees, which gets increase in its lift, and it started soaring. But as we know that when aircraft reaches certain velocity, and the velocity at which it just took off from the ground, at that particular angle of attack, so the velocity at which the aircraft take off at particular angle of attack, that velocity is known as the takeoff velocity. And with a with a good assumption, we can say that takeoff velocity, that is the v takeoff, is equal to 1.1 to 1.2 times of v stall. The takeoff velocity is very near to the stall velocity, just on the front scale, that is 1.2 to 1.1 times of the v stall. So this is about the takeoff velocity. Now next to that we have a cruising velocity. So cruising velocity is the one with which the aircrafts we see flying in the sky. So this velocity is totally mission dependent velocity. Like if suppose you want to deliver a package from point A to point B, and distance between them is, let's say, 100 meters, and you want to deliver the package within 10 seconds. The craft need to cover 100-meter distance in 10 seconds. So you can typically say that the cruising velocity required for aircraft is nothing but 100 divided by 10. That's going to give you 10 meter per second. So that's how you're gonna decide your cruising speed. And no doubt it will be greater than the vstall, and as well v takeoff is greater than vstall, and v takeoff is less than v cruise. So this is how it's going to be. So the velocity of cruise will be greater than the velocity of takeoff, and it will be greater than velocity of stall. So we need to keep the stall velocity as less as possible, uh, so that the aircraft can fly at a lower speed as well. So the lesser the vstall, the good your plane is. But what are the constraints in that? What is the condition for that? We'll see afterwards. Now, the next term I have with myself is the turning radius. Now, turning radius is not that much critical part when you are actually designing an RC aircraft, because it doesn't matter for you that in how much radius the aircraft is going to turn. So basically turning radius is the one. Assume this is the top view of the aircraft flight. This is the top view of the aircraft flight. Now my aircraft is this. This is my aircraft. So my aircraft is flying, and the radius, the circle, if it is form a circle, then this radius of its turn is turning radius. So this is how we define the turning radius. It is a very rarely used term during the design of RC aircrafts. So now let's talk about the last term, that is the endurance. So endurance is the one which is a time related constraint. So for how much time the aircraft flight is going to take place. So the total flight time of the aircraft is nothing but the endurance. So we mention endurance, which is a time dependent quantity, is known as the total flight time of the aircraft. So I hope you have got an idea what are the different terminologies related to aircraft flight. Uh, Please make sure if you have a doubt, mention it to me. Now let's see how exactly the elevator and radar are going to work. I'm explaining these terms in a pretty preliminary way so that you can understand. I'm not going into the exact technical terms, because my aim towards defining these things to you is to make you understand how these things are actually going to work out. Now, let's say we have an elevator over here. This is the elevator. An elevator can move in these directions, up and down. Okay, so you can see this is at up position right now, and now this is at down position. So when the elevator is at up position, the air coming from this side is going to hit it at that point, and due to that impact it is going to generate a moment about the moment arm of the aircraft. So you can see, if this was the aircraft over here and air was hitting here, so a force on the aircraft will be in this direction. So the force will be total normal direction, that is this direction. Now this force will generate a moment on the aircraft which is in this direction. So if you move the elevator up, so elevator up, nose goes up. Similarly, if you see, when the airflow hits the elevator, when it is moved downwards, then it will have a force is in this direction. So this force will generate a moment about the moment arm in this direction. So this is how actually the motion is controlled with the elevators of the aircraft. So this moment is known as the pitching moment. So pitching, rolling and yawing, these are very important terms when we talk about the flight dynamics of aircraft. So this is known as the pitching moment. Now let's see how rudder is going to work. Now I have with me a top view of the aircraft. This is a top view. Now again, when the airflow is in this direction, the air will come and hit the rudder over here. This is the rudder actually. Now when it will hit the rudder, it will produce a force in this direction. In this direction. Now in this direction, when the force will act, it will produce a moment on the aircraft in this direction. So in the clockwise direction, the moment will be generated. This is known as the yawing moment. Yawing moment. Similarly, if the rudder is in this direction and airflow is from the front and it hits the aircraft in this direction, now the force will be in this direction, which will generate a moment in anti-clockwise direction and the aircraft will turn. So this is how the actually rudder and elevator work, and they create a pitching and yawing moment. Now let's move to the last part where we'll see how ailerons are going to affect the motion. And it's a very interesting phenomenon to see that how actually we can roll the plane with the help of ailerons. Now there are two ailerons on each of the wing. So the one which moves downwards, the one which move downwards and the one which move upwards. So basically what will happen is, let's suppose one aileron moves downward. This is the one who is going to move down, and this is the one who is going to move up. Now the one that has moved downward is generating more lift. So this green arrow is about motion of aircraft, motion of aileron downward. If the aileron move downward, the lift force acting on the wing will be in upward direction, and if the aileron moves up, then the lift force acting will be in downward direction. So this blue color is showing you the lift. So as you can see, because of that, an anti-clockwise moment will be generated on the aircraft. So this is how about this moment. So see, about this point, these two forces, these blue forces, are going to generate a couple that is known as the rolling couple. So this is about the working of the ailerons. So similarly for this again, the elevators moves up, that's why it will be having lesser lift force as compared to this one. Here the elevators moves down, so it will be having a lift force in this direction, and a clockwise movement is generated on the plane. So this is how it's gonna be. So this is how the ailerons of the aircraft work out. I hope you have understood everything. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hope you will see in the next video. In the next video, we'll be talking about how exactly we are going to select a problem statement and what will be our design procedure. And after that, I'll be mentioning some equations of flight to you in order to clear the terms which are related to the flight. And after that, we'll start the actual designing process. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope that you liked the video, and if you like, please do let me know in the comment, and keep sharing it with your friends. Subscribe the channel, press the bell icon, and enjoy the life. So thank you.